Welcome to Grace's neighbor Sharon. Thanks for clicking on my video. I hope you enjoyed. Let's get to crafting. This video is part of the 5 Under $5 open playlist hosted every month by Missy from the Crafty Cove and Emily from Farm Charm Chic. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on in the video. Let's get to crafting. Project number 1 is a holiday themed guest key hanger made with these houses from Dollar Tree, as well as this little shadow box and the harvest sign, which is going to be the key holder part. The ornaments I got on Amazon last year and saved, so I didn't really pay anything for any of these items, but if you wanted to do it yourself, it would probably cost between $5 or $6. These were Mod Podged last year, these little tree shapes, and I'm going to go ahead and use my new Hippo heat press. Thank you to Tammy at the Rusted Willow for giving me such a good deal on it. And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it and see if the Mod Podge is still good. You know, I honestly didn't know what to expect. And look at that, no problem. So I did a loose cut because I'm going to do the burn method to get nice clean edges and a little bit of a black edge as well, which I like. I find it defines the edges. Otherwise I'd be doing like stitching or sanding or something. So the scorch marks provide that outline for me. And I do that to both of them. Then off camera, I painted all the backgrounds white. So I painted the key holder part, the harvest sign white, as well as all the backgrounds from the houses. And then I painted the round ornament red with a little silver tip. I painted the small stars with the same silver. And then we were good to go. So we're going to assemble the decorative portion of this key hanger. And that's just hot glue on the stars. However, most of the assembly is going to be a combination of E6000 and hot glue. I used a ruler and a paint stick to determine the placement of the tree shapes, and I just did them flat on the background. I didn't raise them up. I will raise up the ornament, but the trees I kept flat. And I have this E6000 brand new package with precision tips, but I could not figure out how to put them on or how they work, so I ended up just using it normal. It's like a lid, but there's a hole in it. It's very strange to me. All right, so using that paint stick there, and that was just because I was worried I'd have the tendency to pull them down towards the bottom, pull those shapes down, and I didn't want to do that. So I kept them where they would stand out more. And the ornament is raised up by the 2 pieces of foam that were on the original pumpkin in this little shadow box. And then I'm just going to hammer in the backing of the little shadow box because it's nice and snug. I got that little stubby hammer, and with no effort at all, it's in there nice and tight. And then I'm just using hot glue here to get the backings on because they don't need a heavy duty sturdy adhesion like the rest of the parts do. So I go in with my burnt umber because the bright green just wasn't doing it for me. The farmhouse style in my head is either going to be sanded or somehow distressed. So the burnt umber serves as the distressing part. And then you do you. Probably the combo of E6000 and hot glue is enough, but I decided I wanted to put a screw through the middle of each house and the shadow box. And I used my drill to make a small pilot hole in the box as well as in the hanging part of the key holder. And I just went through we have a drawer with random tools and screws and nails and wires and things. And I found some that I thought would be good, but not too long, not too short, you know, that kind of thing. And I wasn't even really concerned if they were exactly the same, because I think people tend to not look at that. I didn't even paint the screws. If that bothers you, you can, but I just left them normal. And it worked out good. And you can decide if you want your houses to sit flush to the front or the back or in the middle. I chose to adhere mine flush to the back so it would hang well. And then I'll get these little hooks in off camera, but for now I just want to pretty it up. One day I will make a finger bow and it will be completely in frame. Today is not that day. So I made 2 finger bows here, and this is about as much as you're going to see of it. I left the bow loose and I left some tails because I liked how that looked. And then I used some, it's not buffalo check, I guess it's gingham, red gingham, and made the awareness bow shape with that red checked ribbon. I'm not quite sure what to call it. Anyways, I used the awareness shaped and scrunched a bow and did some hocus pocus and got it glued down there right at the top. And then did some dovetailing, and I'll give you a better look at the finished product during the final reveal. Shout out to Missy from Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and also this month's co-host Krista from Krista's Crafty Life. Links to their channels will be in my description box below, as well as a link to the playlist. So sit back and enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, project number 2 is a cute little Let It Snow sign. This would be great as a take-home gift or for the kids in their room. It's a Dollar Tree chalkboard, Dollar Tree vinyl, and then some snowflake ornaments from Amazon. And these were all in my stash. I got them last year, with the exception of the vinyl. I probably got it a few months ago. So it didn't cost me anything, but if you wanted to recreate it, it would probably be maybe $250, $375, around about there. So I'm starting by painting the snowflakes just I think it's cottage white. I'll have all the paint colors in my description box below. So once I got the snowflakes white, I set them to the side. I didn't really want to mess around with them, especially get them on the black. But if you do, just use some rubbing alcohol, and I just use a paper towel. You can use like a microfiber cloth. So I'm decorating the chalkboard sign with some buffalo check vinyl. And I was only going to do it on top to hide the wood, but then I realized it kind of looked a little bit unbalanced. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the top and bottom. And then I just use a Dollar Tree utility knife to trim off the ends because I wanted to try and match up the patterns. Before I started, I printed up some, or not printed up, but I did some Cricut words and cut them, and I'm having a little bit of trouble getting them off onto the transfer tape. I missed the W. I'll go back in a minute and get it on there. The whole paper wanted to come up. Like I had to go in and separate the paper from the vinyl letters, but I did get it in there eventually. It's a little bit ripped in places, but after I smooth it down, it's not super noticeable. So I'm okay with that. Here comes my W, and we have the Let It Snow. Now I'm just going to try and create a scene like with a Cricut image of maybe a tree and some falling snow, but that just seemed more difficult than it should be with a cute little sign like this. So I just went ahead and grabbed some of my favorite snowflakes, and that's going to be the focal point of the sign. I have a brand new bottle of Mod Podge that I'm going to use to paint the whole sign, which is something I don't usually do, but I was concerned about the letters on such a smooth surface, so I decided to Mod Podge the whole thing. And I left it overnight, and then I came back in and realized I hadn't done the top one, so I went ahead and did that too and just left it. But I can go ahead and do the snowflakes because I'm not going to be touching it and I'm not going to mess it up. So I put a couple of little beads of the E6000 glue, and there's a lot of thick parts in the back of the snowflakes, so I wasn't too worried about it coming through. And then I finished off with another few little beads of hot glue. I used the same pattern snowflake on the bottom, and then I put one a little bit different on top, and I think it looks fantastic. You can let me know what you think. Would you have done maybe a Christmas tree or a little scene? I went ahead and used my Cricut pokey tool to put holes in the vinyl where the original holes were on the sign, and then I put the original hanging cord on, and I'm going to give you a good look at this during the final reveal. Project number 3 is a Days Till Christmas sign. Now this project was a struggle. I'll be the first to tell you, and I'll let you know as I go, because I did leave a little bit of the struggle in just to share with y'all. So the first thing I'm going to do with this little, I believe it's a 4x6 picture frame, and it has the little thing that's magnetic on it, but it had a chimney, so I didn't want a chimney. And I just used a utility knife to get that chimney off. It was actually quite easy, just a couple of scores, and it snapped off. Then it has this really nice heavy-duty sawtooth hanger, and I used my Dollar Tree screwdrivers to get that off and save it for another project. I thought I wanted this sign to be white, but while I was painting it, I wasn't thinking of the fact that I had already cut some Cricut words and numbers in white. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, Christmas, so we'll do, let's do red. And I had painted the paint sticks there gray. Those are going to be the number tags. And why gray? I don't know why gray. I guess I thought black and white was too harsh, but it really isn't, as you will come to see. And my camera was not cooperating, so it filmed me doing the white and red, but not the black, which is what I actually decided on. And then I went ahead and painted the little tags black as well too. And it looks good. I don't know why I thought it wouldn't, but I'm going to go ahead and do some pilot holes for the little round hooks that I used once already in this video. And just a really small drill bit was enough to get these screwed in nicely and still have them tight. And you just gotta play with the placement. It was like a quarter of a half or something. You could eyeball it, but I tend to like to do a little bit of measuring at least. So once I was done getting those little hooks in, I changed it to a much larger drill bit, and each of the tags got a nice big hole drilled in the top. And then I just kind of use that as a template for the rest of the tags. And it's kind of hit or miss the way you put the numbers on it. I just kind of played around with it because I didn't feel like doing a whole lot of tags when I could put some on the back, like front and back. So I got this Days Till Christmas sign down, and of course I didn't get the whole thing. I was missing the D, just like I was missing the W in the other project. But I did get the D on there with my trusty little Cricut tool. And this is pretty much it. I'll give you a good look at it at the final reveal. Okay, project number 4 is a faux garland. Is it high-end? No, not really, but I always wanted to do one of these, and it was inspired by one that I made last year, and I had hoped to make it with some wooden ornaments, but after I had already committed to it, I realized I didn't have enough ornaments, so I cut out cardboard ornaments, and you'll see that in a little bit here. How I started was I took one of those trick-or-treat horizontal signs, narrow horizontal signs, and I gave it a rough coat, what I call a farmhouse coat of white. And then I took the old garland, and I liked the shape and size of the trees, so I used one of those and cut out 5 trees from a coffee maker box. I coated them with some moss paint moss chalk paint that had been sitting around, gave it a good shake, and it was good to go. And I mean, I hadn't used it for months, and it came up great. So it is a narrow board, but I decided I could work with it and make it look like the trees were hanging off of a garland, but actually mounted to the board. So I did want to decorate the trees a little bit. The old garland, I had some gold string and some beads, but I don't have any gold string or beads. So this time I'm using the bell garland and some of this red and tan twine that I like. And I used the red twine to make little finger bows. I wrapped the bow around 3 fingers, maybe 4 or 5 times. I didn't want it too thick. I wanted to be able to manipulate the edges and pull them out a little bit. Because I like finger bows, I don't like them tight. I like them kind of pulled apart so it almost looks like a flower. So that's what we did in this case. Topped each of them with the finger bow, and then that way my cutting issues are sort of hidden because the tops of each tree just looked a little bit different from the previous one. So once I'm done here, I'm taking the bell garland and I'll do a red one in the middle and on the ends, and then I think it's just gold. I call it plain or neutral on the inside trees on the garland. And I'm sorry, this is really so slow. I thought I sped this up. Okay. Now we're going a little bit faster. So now I'm just playing with the placement of the trees. I had to put them on one of those Dollar Tree cubes because the bell garland is on the back and it's kind of thick. So if I put it on the cube, it sits up and it's easier to glue. Plus, I think it kind of looks better, raised it up from the background. So I put the middle one, the lowest, on the background, and then I pulled up the other ones till the outside ones were right in the top corners. And I did each one the same way by putting the cube in the middle with hot glue, and then hot glue on the bottom, and then placing the bottom of the cube on the background. I chose to use some old green jute that I had. It's kind of thick though. I got it for macrame, but it's a little bit too rough on my fingers for macrame. So I have a bunch of it, and I try to use it for crafts when I can. Once I got everything glued on there and the green jute glued on, I took some of the tan and white jute, made a handle, and I'll show you a better look at the final reveal. Project number 5 is a hanging stocking, and this is just a a quick and cute little thing. We're going to keep it simple, just like Dollar Tree did when they put out the original. And this just said Happy Fall with a beaded hanging rope. Excuse me, I'm babysitting my daughter's dogs. Instead of like going to the trouble of painting the edges, I was just really careful about how to put them on there, and it didn't have to be perfect because I knew I was going to cover it up, which is what I'm doing here. And you can just pull like find one tip of the burlap and pull it so it helps you get a better cut. And that's what I'm doing right here. So I finally get it cut to the inside. And again, I'm not worried about it being perfect because it's white on white and it's not gonna be that noticeable. And I'm using wood glue here because it's starting to run out of hot glue and I was kind of in a rush. So wood glue it is. And this is the white burlap. I actually got that at Walmart. And it's really thick. It's like, I think they sell it as ribbon. But it was the perfect size for this. So once I got that on there, it was, there was enough spaces through the like it was thin burlap. So I was actually able to screw in the hook through the burlap because there was enough, like, I don't know, like aeration. But I was able to screw the little hook in through the burlap, which I was happy worked. I had been planning on it all along, and if it hadn't worked, I was going to be really bummed. So there you go. And the stocking was just painted with burnt umber and a lot of water to make it look au naturel. And I'll give you a better look at this at the final reveal. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. See you soon.